mic off.
Now you get 2 nights of
Sure.
visiting Wayne.
No, because you wouldn't let me.
I'm gonna let you, you're running.
For real?
Yeah,
Well,
Hey, I understand
Do
you
it.
can't do it.
You guys ready? I got put in charge, so we'll be out here in 15 minutes. Maggie's up first? No. Go, Maggie.
and then we have to have roll call.
we have to have roll call. You screwed it up already.
Do we really have to have roll?
Yep.
Yes. for
Okay,
the
roll
record.
call.
Okay,
Oh, where's she at? I can hear her.
Are we recording?
Oh,
yes. Councilmember Kelly,
Absent.
Councilmember Turner,
Absent.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza,
Here.
Councilmember Best,
here.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Here.
Mayor Croft.
Here.
Okay, now is it okay if Maggie goes?
You go right ahead, Vice Mayor.
You need to train him, sir.
Okay, consideration discussion regarding municipal building signage project, Maggie Tittleback. You can
Titleback.
develop proper language.
Tie
Huh?
it back.
Tie it back.
Tittleback, Tittleback.
everybody slaughters it. Jeez.
Is that you?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I wasn't doing that till you got here. Take one, pass it down. Oh, that's is that a packet? That's a packet.
Maybe on texting you, it's not coming.
Round and round and round we go.
We're gonna.
I can do it.
You sure? Is that what these fellas are here for?
I'm good to
They're going around.
We're good.
We're gonna have all over in your corner in a minute.
So just
We need,
Start stacking them back up in front of her seat.
Need one more.
one more, one more, please.
One of
One
us.
more.
One of us.
You want one of these? Okay.
Good?
You give Cecilia one?
Yes.
Sure.
Mayor.
That was a pretty good shot.
yeah, most of the plate. Will you send me home for this?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Maggie?
She's behind you. The other behind you. Science Plus. Wonder if Science Plus is kin to Batteries Plus.
Maggie.
Close.
You won't have to read that. I wonder what the plus is. What else do they do?
Post.
Magnifying glass?
Huh?
Post.
Disclaimer, I
Post?
think.
My arms aren't even Sign long post. enough.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So,
Can't hear- can't hear
can you
you.
hear me?
Turn it on.
Is it on, hun?
I don't know
Okay,
if
some-
we use that when we're using the.
Well, the last time,
Oh,
they can't have both the microphones there and there on.
Oh, okay.
can you hear me good enough if I talk like this?
Why don't you come
That'll
out here?
work.
Why don't you come
You
out
can sit
here?
there.
We're-
Oh, it
talk
scares
to
me in the
everybody.
spotlight, I don't like it.
Well,
But okay.
we all grew up and then we found out we could speak to people.
That mistake wasn't my fault.
Pretty sure it was.
We're grading him on how he
Can
does
you
it.
hear her, Kathy?
I'll just sit down.
Yeah, just
Yeah, you sit down.
If the
making
microphone's
a
you,
few
then it squawks.
Okay. So if she sits here, can you hear her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
This
Hi,
is good.
Gavin.
So this project is a municipal building signage project that I've been working on since I started. It was one of my first tasks. And we put it out for bid, and Chris with Science Plus won the bid. And he spent a lot of time putting this together for us. The original design was done by, I can't remember her name, and then he kind of
Celia
tweaked it.
Vandermolen.
So we kind of went with the country yet modern theme. And then I'll have Chris kind of, since he's the one that designed this, go through the slides, and we pretty much, they're doing a monument sign at Old Home Manor, a bigger sign out here in front of this building so people don't pass us every time they drive by, and then over at the municipal center and various other areas.
Well, in no rhyme or reason, the order that these are in is just random completely, really. But the design that I was given was basically a rusted steel with some Trex deck wood planks sticking out of the side of it. So I decided to take that idea and instead of using the Trex deck planks, the aluminum part, here, I'll show you guys. This part right here, we're gonna build out of a 2-inch square tube aluminum, and we'll skin it with aluminum, and then we're gonna paint it to look like faux wood. So it'll look like rustic weathered wood when it's done. This is gonna be core 10 steel. It'll be 1/8-inch steel, pre-rusted, ready to go, so it won't rust any further. It'll sit out there and just last as long as the building will be here. All the lettering will be raised lettering. There'll be FCO, flat cutout letters. Everything will be raised. We'll have removable panels so that these can be interchanged. We can set it up for anything from 1 to 4 panels for any sign. The pillars themselves can also be interchanged. Towards the end of the design, I changed that to where they'll all be set on the same template and they could also be interchanged. So as we just run through the slides, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
About night visibility.
I was not asked to do any lighting right now, but if we would like to add that, we could. We could do flood lighting.
No, I mean, on the sign itself.
Yeah.
Will they,
Didn't we kind of talk about putting reflective, lettering?
Yeah, we could do reflective lettering so that the headlights would reflect off of the lettering.
With that, because we don't want a lot of light pollution, obviously.
And we
no,
could
we
do
don't
that.
want the lights on it, but the lettering itself.
Right.
Okay.
And it would be the same reflective grade as the highway signs, so you'd be able to see them just as well as those.
The bottom of that police sign to the ground is what, you're looking at like 5.5 feet, 5.5 feet?
About, for the bottom, yeah, probably about bottom of my chin, so maybe a little over 5 feet.
Just, what would keep some kid from riding his bike over and cranking his head on top of that?
Hopefully his parents.
This is Chino Valley.
I mean, we put signs everywhere in areas where people are walking by and, you know, you just, well, I couldn't tell you how many times people run into them with cars all the time, but I've never seen a person run into one yet.
And
No, I just,
no, sorry.
No, I understand because it's at head height and that makes perfect sense.
that's why I was looking at that man, I thought.
Yeah,
The locations of them though, they're more in front of the building, so it's shaped in a way where it's not gonna be like perpendicular to
Okay.
Yeah, they will not be over any sidewalks or anything.
Yeah.
Or
Everything
even, not
will,
even next to
everything will
sidewalk.
be in
you
a
can place them that way if you want.
landscape area pretty much.
if I could jump in there, we need them at least 2 feet away from the sidewalk to avoid that. It'll be in landscaped or
I-
non,
Landscape or
Path
water
areas.
retention or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's-
Yes, sir.
They have rocks right underneath it, so you can't ride a bike under it.
Well,
And
that's
I
why the
agree.
kids are gonna wanna jump those.
No, and I agree with that.
I've had
Rocks would
rocks,
keep
yeah.
somebody from trying to cut or walk, you know, or something. I was just curious, just something I saw.
so
Would
any-
there,
oh,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, anything over the sidewalk needs to be at least 7 feet high,
Yeah, these will not be over any sidewalks.
so, sorry if I interrupted you.
Going back to the lighting, I understand we don't want uplighting because of the dark sky.
Okay.
Is the reflective lighting gonna be tacky?
Well, like I said, we could do the reflective vinyl on all the lettering so that any car that's driving down the road, the headlights would catch it and you'd be able to see it. It would pop out pretty well.
He said it'd be like other street signs out there.
It's the same highway reflective grade vinyl and it does last, it lasts a very, very long time.
That's one of the issues we have here. People drive down here at night and they don't know
can't
this
see
is
that.
City
Right.
Hall.
Yeah, and if
Even
you
during
were,
the day, the colors are too similar.
Yeah. too soon.
I mean, that we could do an option where the letters push through in light around the edges, but
Yeah.
I
That's
know
a lot of money.
this is much more cost effective to do it with just the
Yeah.
vinyl.
That'd be
If I could ask, what if we put some small wattage, like landscape accent lights to light that up? Have you ever done that with any sign?
Yeah, we've done that, but I haven't had very good success with those things lasting more than a year or two.
Okay.
At least if you're thinking the solar ones, or were you thinking hardwired?
Either one, something,
Hardwired
I
would
think we
last a
need
lot
less than
longer.
100 watts to.
Yeah, we could do a low lumen LED floodlight type thing. It's an option.
And some of those you can program, can't you, on the?
Yeah,
You can provide
Turn 'em
shielding on
off.
those as well.
But you can have them turn off by a certain time.
So we could probably tie that in with the irrigation program we're putting in, and I think it's all operated off timers and phone apps. Or-
would that really be needed at the other facility, or would it just, well, I guess it would.
I think some of the signs, lighting them, might
Yeah.
be a really good idea.
Okay.
But there's probably some others, especially in the back part of the campus.
Especially on 89 because the
This one out
traffic
here
down
we
here is
definitely need,
45,
yeah.
50,
Yes.
55 miles an hour. They
Is that-
drive right by real quick.
Where did, was this brought up before? Why are we even,
Yes.
That's
Long
why,
time
that's
ago.
why we're here tonight talking about it,
long time ago? Yeah.
a long time ago.
It's been in the hopper for a while.
Yeah, long while.
Long, long while.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure where these are going.
So, and I can explain that to you. So there, you can see it come, Chino Valley Library. So each building over there will have its own dedicated sign to it in front of it. People get lost in there quite often. Go ahead.
No, I
Because
still
I
get
can't
lost.
read.
I still go to the library when I'm trying to go to the police department.
So I'll give it a designation. And this is all about branding as well. So, and then if you go to the next page on page 4, the Chino Valley Recreation Complex, we were deciding to put it kind of between the community center and the complex where there's a place to put it there.
First floor?
Yeah, it's
on
up
the
on the
back side.
screen.
You
Yeah,
have
she
to
put
kind
on
of,
both pages.
it's
both
both
sides.
two-sided page.
That's confusing.
I'm,
Wrong way.
You just need to lift it up.
Sorry.
This-
Got it.
Say 416, is it what it is?
416.
oh, I'm on
Yeah,
16.
it's up on the screen if
So
you
I
need
went the
to.
back way too, so it's 4 of 16.
You make a hell of a mare, buddy. You can't find anything.
We're doing great.
Is that 416, is that what
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at?
So we got together and talked amongst some of the leadership team about what we wanted the signs to say and where, et cetera. We collaborated. And on this one, we put the Recreation Department, Aquatic Center, Boys and Girls Club. And then if you go to the next slide, 5, this will be kind of more of a monument sign
On
on the
5, page
corners.
5?
Page 5, 5 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, Joe, help me with my
Yeah,
memory.
this one will be located, coming in where the senior center is, so direct,
So Butterfield and,
Yeah,
Butterfield, right there, right as the senior center entrance.
okay.
And then on the next page, that's obviously the town hall.
So, but the location, this will be out by the road?
Yes.
Towards the entrance, correct.
Yeah. See, this one would be good to light, for sure.
Yeah.
And what we really liked about this design is we can swap these out, so as we do, we start swapping facilities
Moving
and
things around,
departments,
sure.
we can just swap them out.
Need one from Mayor.
And this one had the address numbers on it. We eliminated that on quite a few of the other ones, more for cost-saving advice.
Okay.
But the exact numbers of each address on North Campus, it's like, I don't think we needed it.
So this one is obvious, and we're talking about putting this one a little bit more, because there's a road that's gonna be going in over there, putting it more in the center versus where the current one is, so it's visible.
Is this supposed to say development services?
Yes.
Where are you?
Yeah,
What page are you on?
7, sorry.
yeah, 7,
So yeah, that is development
Yeah, that was
services.
a goof on my designer's name.
No,
I
that's
guess.
Department Services.
That's a new department
We're
you
gonna
guys
have
don't
some
know
great
about yet.
signs then.
yeah.
And that's the one that's internal, once you turn off of 3 North into Voss. This one would be actually on Voss, or inside the complex, just to
Okay.
show you which building's which.
Is that, that's,
And they won't have the little flag arms on them. What do you call that little arm?
Call it whatever you want, it's a cantilever, but we'll call it, what do you like to call it?
Jack's arm?
Flag.
Okay. But yeah, for the ones without those cantilevers, those would just be building identifications, I believe.
And they'll sit right in front of the
Well,
building.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
That way we can find our way to the library.
So again, the next one, police department, front of the police building.
Page 8.
And then same thing, animal control in front of the animal control. The next couple are like that, senior center, police. So we can kind of skip ahead,
Hold on.
library, municipal court. And if you wanna get to page 14. So this one's kinda neat. I think Joe came up with this one, but this will be on the corner of Perkinsville and 1 East. To give a kind of a bigger sign for the Chino Valley Recreation Complex, and it's two-sided, right?
Four-sided.
Four-sided.
It's just one pillar,
It's one-
one square pillar. And
How about
on all-
Perkinsville Road?
And 1 East.
And 1 East. Right there in the corner of where the sports complex is, and it's 10 feet tall to enforce
How
it.
about if the trucks come down Perkinsville? Is it gonna be a sign to direct them up to the business park?
A directional sign,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be part of this, but we have a Old Home Manor Business Park monument sign.
It's right here.
I see that, yeah.
But if you want
Yeah.
directional
My
signs
question
too.
was, is there gonna be a directional
Um,
sign?
That's more weight.
Perkinsville.
Not the wayfinding, probably goes on one of the
Trailblazers.
attractions that we're doing for the Trailblazer.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do like the library where it says library, or Peabody Trail, a sign like that, that says Old Home Manor Business Park.
The business park at Old Home Manor.
Excuse me.
Just,
And where's this gonna be? Is
This
it gonna be
one.
on Four North?
Which one?
This-
Are you in the next slide?
Now, I'm still concerned about Perkinsville and how directing people to the business park off of Perkinsville.
so this town signage project doesn't really address that,
Okay,
so.
But do you want us to look into that?
absolutely.
Okay. And then the last slide, saving the best for last, this is the monument sign that, we all put our heads together, he gave us a couple different designs, and this is what we came up with. And this will go on the corner of Rodeo and Jerome Junction on the southeast corner, right, south corner?
Page 15, go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was trying to get it up on the screen.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is, we're looking at, and we can, I think the thought was to do it at Rodeo and Jerome Junction right now, and then as we build out Road 4, put another one up at Road 4, once we make improvements up there.
And actually, we quoted to do them both now.
Oh, to do them both now? Okay.
Okay.
So whichever way you come into the business park, you'll see these two monument signs.
So we're only gonna have 6 businesses up there, or are we gonna be able to expand that from 6 to 8 or whatever we end up with?
Hopefully a lot more than that.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
you only showed 6. And I was
Yeah.
just-
Maybe
If
6
we
on each
wanna
side.
do 8 or more, we should probably address that now.
Well,
Why?
I think what I was thinking and looking at this is I don't know that we need the tenant panels, just to have maybe bigger Chino Valley Business Park at Old Home Manor. I don't know that we need
The actual
the
business
tenant
panels
panels or,
at the entrance.
you know,
Maybe use them for anchor tenants, I don't know what all's gonna be in there.
For what?
For an anchor
For like an
tenant.
anchor tenant, one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, otherwise they can have individual signage on property.
Can this be added on later?
If that's what it needs to be.
What do you mean, this,
If this grows and when it grows, can we add to it? With names?
Well, I think they're saying they don't think they should put every tenant on each,
the anchor
on a
tenants
panel.
meaning,
It'd be too
Big
busy
It's-
for
yeah,
people
they're
to
just gonna be
read.
too busy. So it'd be like the business park, and then you enter the park and you'll have individual signage on property unless you have anchor stores that kinda,
Okay.
like if you had an Amazon would be on there, but ABC.
No, there wouldn't be any
Glass.
town left if we had an Amazon.
Yeah, one of the things you look at, if you start adding too many of those panels, the sign gets too big.
It gets too busy.
It gets obtrusive.
Okay,
Yes.
You want people to find the business park first,
Right.
and then second, you want them to see the main tenants that they might be looking for. Say somebody's going to look for a Target and they'll see that, but like Joe's Pizza, you're gonna just have to go in the business park and find them.
yeah, maybe we'll end up with some
Works
kind
for
of
me.
a map after that, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, there could be a directory inside the property once the cars actually slow down.
And that's what he was just, JT was just
Yeah.
saying, so you need to have some sort of directory once you're.
Once
So where are we
enter
at
the
with
park.
this? We are or are not putting the banners on there?
I would say no.
The what on them?
The banners, the names of the equestrian center and all that.
Actually, I have a hard time with this whole $132,000 right from the start. You know, I think we have a whole lot better places to spend this amount of money. We talked about putting out a sign at the business park so that we have something that says, behind this sign is the future business park. And it's just something that as you come and show somebody Chino Valley, that you can drive there, and there is the sign that says future business park, and there's the blank property behind it. I'm just really not behind $132,000. I'd rather see sewer extensions, I'd rather see roads fixed, you know. I think this is, I would have a hard time justifying if somebody comes up and say, you just spent $132,000 on signs when my road looks the way it does?
In all due respect, I'm going to disagree nicely. Part of economic development is branding your town. If we don't start doing this kind of stuff, it's gonna just look worse and worse and worse. We have to start branding ourselves some way. That's going to put a name to it, a placard of some sort. If we don't start doing something like this, then it's just gonna look trashy. This is about making it look good, to attract people to come here, and to make people know that we're not just a drive-by town. We have to start doing this kind of stuff. It's important. It really is. I know it's hard to understand and wrap your head around, but it's more of a visionary thing down the road. It's not a justification, it'll pay itself off later.
I have no problem with it. I think we need to do it. We should have done it a long time ago. At least now getting around to it.
Hey, Joe, where's this money coming from?
Okay, well, we did budget,
You gotta speak louder, I'm sorry.
we did budget 50,000 for the town signs. So the extra amount will have to come out of contingencies. We'll use about $35,000 contingency funds. And then we also have money in the Old Home Manor, the $250,000 that we set aside for Old Home Manor stuff. So we have the funds available to do it.
I think a lot of, sometimes aesthetics is hard to wrap your head around when we do have roads and stuff to fix, but at some point we gotta start tapping away some of this stuff, in my opinion.
Amy?
I agree that, it needs to be done. Does it still say looking to the future? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. No, I think it needs to be done. It seems, some of them, and it might just be multiple angles from the slides, seem monotonous. I wish we could have like an overview of the town and like pinpoint where the signs were gonna be. I think I would get a better visual.
We could do a site plan for the entire thing.
I think that would help too.
Yeah, that would help tremendously.
Is that it, Eddie?
Yeah, that is it.
Mike?
I agree, we need to have it. I'm not happy with the price of it, but that's the way life is. We need to identify ourselves.
Where's this municipal center?
That's gonna go in the corner of, what's that street?
That was just an idea, not a necessity, on the corner of Road 3 North and 1 West. So right in front of the police department on the corner there, and it kind of a shape like this, so it frames.
Front of the courts.
In front of the court, or in front of the corpse, you know.
Where the wood fencing is right now, kind of in front of that.
To
Is
kind
that
of
in
designate
this?
that whole block
Yes,
as
that is
the,
in its price.
is the north campus there.
Unless you
Well, I
live
hope
there.
these can all be transplanted, because we haven't decided where everything's going here in the future anyway.
They can all be
So.
changed out, so all these can
That's what
slide
he's
in
saying.
now.
You could.
Yeah.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about the posts and all, so you're only gonna have a foundation or left there to.
Well, I wouldn't imagine the monument signs will be moved, but like this one here, this would be difficult to move because this is concrete and concrete. But all the individual ones, these are all J-bolted down to concrete slabs. Every one of those can be moved, and they'll all be on the same template as well.
So all except for the last two slides could
Right.
could be relocated.
Correct.
Okay, anything else?
No?
Let's go on to item 3.
And what are we
Wait,
gonna do with this?
can we go back for a second, Jack? Is this okay to advance it then to a council agenda for approval? And
I guess it'll have to be, so we can do it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll just bring a site plan.
yeah, get a site plan, and then we can just
Yeah.
throw that up there for them later. Okay.
I don't see compass trainings.
A little far out.
Okay,
Yeah, they
item
actually should
3,
have another one down at that
consideration
area. for
of
them.
possible action to direct
Yeah,
staff
I
regarding
mean,
proposed
when I make one.
improvements at the Chino Valley Regional Business Park at Old Home Manor, Frank Marbury.
So when do you want me to talk about this, after this discussion or before?
I think this is appropriate time.
Now, before Frank starts
Yeah,
talking, or?
yeah,
Okay.
once you do it now.
Can I
So-
go back to the other side of the Old Home Manor for a sign?
The east side?
Since we're doing the improvements on the east side and hopefully another one's coming through, hopefully. Rumor has it. The rec part of Old Home Manor,
Oh,
where the range is, and then hopefully the,
Model aviators.
we had originally included that, and then we thought, let's just do that later. So,
Okay.
just because it's not all completely built out over there really yet.
but it is awesome.
It is awesome.
That's,
So, me first, okay, let me get something out of the refrigerator.
so,
Those look like
Sorry,
sesame
Frank,
seeds.
days you lose.
You're on hold.
You're on hold.
oh, I was just gonna say about the signs, that's kind of what I was thinking the beauty of the design is, when you go to add those signs, it's a pretty consistent theme, so you can add and move them as you need to.
Can I go get a
I was
piece
just
of-
thinking, you don't really get them
I will.
from, get that from rodeo.
I need water.
Yeah, like for the gun range, we
No, I
want a
drank
sign
two
for the gun
already.
range
Pass
out
one
on
down to
purpose,
Maggie.
And if there's maybe,
or maybe a monument sign by the ball field.
Well, and JT just made a good comment too, we're gonna have to have an entryway into the park anyway, so this would be like the,
Yeah,
you know,
just have to pay more money.
and an RV, if that comes through,
Right.
which I'm hopeful.
And I think we've got that scheduled for a future study session. We'll talk about the RV, and if that comes through, then maybe it's time then to get some signage out there as well. We just, before we start talking about some of the infrastructure improvements, excuse me, at Old Home Manor, we wanted to speak with you a little bit about who we talked with yesterday with respect to maybe a business tenant out at the Old Home Manor. So I'm gonna keep it fairly vague because no decision's been made on their part. This was the second time that they've been out here to speak with us. JT Purvis down here on the end is a commercial broker working with the firm. So I was just gonna give you a couple comments about them. They're interested in locating at the business park. We're hopeful that we're a strong consideration for them. They grow sprouts, so we're handing out
Already seen these.
their product. You're free to take one if you want one. Laura, you can take one.
I buy these every week for sandwiches.
So, back in the nineties, when when sprouts were becoming popular, the process they used were in these big vats that ended up, not from their company, but from other companies that were producing them. They were getting E. coli and salmonella. So a lot of the stores that were carrying them or the restaurants didn't want to carry them any longer. So this company, these people went back and, kept refining the process, and they have now been awarded a patent both on the process and then the packaging on how they do it on growing sprouts. So they use a refrigeration method, takes them now about 3 weeks. This is how they start, although I got this yesterday, they just put the seeds in, and I didn't refrigerate it, but the sprouts have started growing. So they take about 3 weeks in a refrigeration process. They keep them cold but not frozen. And then once they distribute them to, right now they're working with Kroger's and Fry's, I believe they said.
They're in Safeway now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kroger's and Safeway.
yeah.
Kroger's and
Kroger's
Fry's
and-
same.
Anyway, they are working with them. So then they distribute them. They have like a 3 to 4 week shelf life at your house, so they last a long time. It's a good product. So they are located right now in Sacramento for their production. They have their business offices up in the Minneapolis area. They're looking to kind of combine them all together. We're one of a couple that they're looking at. But we had a good meeting yesterday, I felt, and they want to kind of combine everything together. 30 jobs is what they're looking at, 10 kind of on the professional level and then 20 on the production side, but they also want the ability with extra acreage to grow. These right now are made, the actual plastic is in Santa Barbara, I believe he told me. So they want to try and do whatever they can to find more local products so that they can minimize their shipping and everything else, all their different costs. So again, I thought we had a good meeting yesterday, but we'll see how that goes. I just kind of wanted to set the table for some of the things that we're going to talk about
Is it okay if he talks for just a minute? on
Sure,
that? Okay.
absolutely.
I invited him to come tonight since he's there.
Anytime, he's welcome anytime. We throw
But take
tomatoes
one,
at him if
or
he
take
wants.
one.
Yeah, if
Son-in-law
anybody
is
doesn't
Jeb-
want them, I'll
Son-in-law's Jeb.
They're great on sandwiches.
What do you buy?
Safeway.
Well, this company came to us, they're looking to lease a facility. They're a new startup, they're coming out of 18,000 square feet, they want a 35,000 square foot building built. They're trying to produce this product for the whole western region of the United States. And they can't keep up with the production demand that they have now, and they haven't even tapped into half of the market. So they wanna put their money in the product, not in the building or in the property, so they're looking for a build-to-suit. So that's how we got involved. My son-in-law is Jeffco Construction. He came to me, I said, I will consider building it, leasing it to you, and then they want a 5-year option. In the 5 years, they would have an opportunity to purchase the building. They have a little concern about ground leases, but after we've worked with them, they seem very comfortable at this point. We had a great meeting and a presentation yesterday that they put on with slides out of California. I'd like to compliment your city staff that was all here yesterday. Because I will tell you, Prescott Valley is pressing them real hard. And they're pressing me because I'm the one that's gotta do it and then lease it to them. But I'm not buying and building and leasing unless I got them on the hook. That's why I brought a banker with me yesterday at the presentation, so he has it firsthand. They walked out of here very comfortable with Chino Valley. They said, they've been here enough, and they've looked around, they've looked at Williamson Valley, they've looked at Prescott Valley, they've looked at the air park, and they said, we have a good feeling about Chino. We like the people. The presentation yesterday was very comfortable. They said, no, we don't need to go to Prescott Valley to look again at some of what they're trying to propose. So we had a nice discussion yesterday. We're moving forward with the construction cost factors, that we're gonna meet on Friday to get some ballpark ideas, to see if we're in the ballpark of what we can do to get them here. If they can't, then we're looking at Houston. But Jeff Scholl, the PhD inventor of this product, has been involved with Green Giant Foods for years. He and his wife are both chemists. And he really likes the area of Prescott, this climate. He thinks it would be great for his employees that they can create. And part of your staff pointed out all the opportunities we have at my college, all the other things that they can pull from to help their business expand. He's involved in a number of other businesses, and I think if we can get them in here on this spot, we've got 2 more businesses that are probably gonna follow. And that's why they want another 10 acres adjoining to try and keep available for like 2 years, because we think we'll get these others in here. They are in a quick moving position. They have to have this thing done by October of next year. So they don't want to drag their feet one iota, and they're pressing us to get numbers as fast as we can, and we're gonna start pressing you to move as fast as we can so we can get this thing off. We've already been in contact with Butler for the structures. It's a specially built building that has to be temperature controlled. The air conditioning systems is astronomical, because they have to maintain a 4-degree discrepancy in this thing so it grows correctly. And they've already checked on the trucking, they've checked on all kinds of stuff. So I think you guys are in a great position, so hopefully we can make this thing move forward. As soon as I can get some answers and I can give you some letters of intent, to say, here's what I need to try and make this thing work. And hopefully, we'll get this thing done, we'll be sitting here with a new one right behind it.
Good. How many employees?
They claim they're gonna start out with around 30. The building's been designed at 35,000, with a 10,000 expansion. They've already designed it in there. They said we should be at around 50 jobs within 2 years at the most. So they're looking at a pretty good operation here. And I think it'd be a great fit for Chino Valley. And I think it's gonna break the ice out here, because you drive out there and it's, well, where are the cows?
Across the street.
I said, no, this is gonna be a business park. They gotta start seeing something. That's why I say you've got, and I didn't wanna step in, but you gotta have an entryway. Some kind to say, hey, what's the business park? And once we get 2 or 3 people in there, now you'll start to gain some momentum. So I think you're on the right track.
Technically not a greenhouse though, right?
It's not a greenhouse,
I love
no.
this.
There is no greenhouses, their water consumption is very minimal.
Love
It's
this.
It's all
1,500 to
done
2,000
indoors in
gallons a day.
Refrigerated rooms.
Yeah.
And the walls are all built out of metal.
Love this.
Because they have a sanitation thing that they have to wash and hose down, and that's the bulk of their water. The
Yeah,
amount of water that goes in that little container is
They put
minimal.
a small amount of water in the bottom of this, that's the only water they
You
use.
said
on
they
the
get
whole
their
project.
seeds out of Kentucky and they grow it from seeds in this temperature.
About 3,000 seeds in each one of these.
Yeah.
It took them a couple of years because it was cross-contaminating the way they did it before, and so with this process, you're not getting that.
It's an interesting process.
Yeah.
Very,
To
very-
give you an idea, the cost ranges we're starting to visualize is close to $5 million for this building.
Yeah.
With the air conditioning and the requirements that they've got in it for the
I'm not surprised.
And I like the ag factor. I
with
really
the-
like the ag
with the college
factor.
right there.
So you can look up
And
Wild
Chino.
About Sprouts on the internet, they're for legit.
How
How
much
much
is
is
this
this to purchase this?
You know, I don't know.
$3.50.
It's a blue, but it's different.
They're different.
Yeah, there's clover, there's
I have
broccoli.
clover.
There's about 6 or 7 different kinds, and they are looking at expanding into like full-on salads that you buy, the packaged salads, similar to.
I don't think this has anything to do with, you know, let's get back to the business of it, you know.
They're awesome.
Okay, great.
I buy them all the time.
Um,
I'll make you a good sandwich with them.
And also from, they're the only ones that do this and have a patent on it. That's a huge thing that Chino Valley, that they have that company.
They have a good business now. What- Can we get together with them
And they're looking at the corner right
Build this
across where you
project.
want to put the signs.
We're,
You want me to?
we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We have never even talked about leases or what we're gonna, how
That's
we're
already
gonna,
been- yeah,
how we're gonna
yeah.
manage this
That's
property.
part of what we discussed yesterday, since it's so new, because in our.
Who
economic
discussed
develop-
it?
Our economic development subcommittee meeting, we spoke about how, what I have to work with and how to entice. And so the direction this goes, so he presents an LOI, which is a letter of intent in commercial real estate, to me. I give that to Andrew, Andrew looks at it and gives, and makes a lease that's then presented to you to look at and pick apart, yay, nay, that kind of thing. So Andrew will be creating the lease.
We need to get some idea what the lease costs are here in the vicinity.
So they'll make an offer, and then,
You need to go out
Yeah.
and do some research for us
yeah,
to find out what buildings are leasing for in Prescott Valley and Prescott, so we have an idea.
But then we're not building a building, so.
We're not
It's
building
not-
the
So
building.
therefore, we really don't care what they are leasing for.
No, we're leasing the
We're
property.
we're looking at a property.
Yeah, that's all,
And-
that's our investment is the property.
and that's what we're working together on.
Yeah.
Where'd Frank go?
He's back over here.
Sorry, y'all were mentioning Andrew's name, so I wanted to be able to see him on the screen.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hello. Hello.
How are you?
So,
This is our attorney down in Phoenix.
so
Questions of Andrew? Corey, you got any questions? of him?
No, no.
So-
Anybody?
I think we,
Go, Frank.
you go? Okay. So I was asked to bring back some cost numbers for just a portion. I'm gonna just get up here and point if I can, and maybe to have the cursor follow me. We had looked at and discussed before some of the roads, but I was asked to get numbers just from this entryway here through this first intersection. So if we look at that, we go to the next slide. See, 2 slides. The
You're
second,
learning.
this slide. Okay, we just narrowed it down to just this portion to get through that intersection. And the cost didn't lower too much because, as you remember, or I'll remind you that the
The
majority of
natural
the
gas.
numbers are in the utilities. Those are almost fixed costs to get them to the park. The road numbers went down some, and we've still got a total of just under $2 million is our guess of what the cost would be to do that. 750 feet there. That's a lot of money, but remember half of that's wrapped up in utilities, dry utilities alone that aren't normal street expenses.
That we'll have to do eventually anyway.
Well,
Right.
it also includes 650 to get the gas line. How
Yeah.
far?
Yeah, that's
What'd you say?
dry utilities.
650
gas.
for natural gas line.
Gas alone is 650,000.
That's the big one.
Which is almost, can be looked at as a separate project.
Mhm.
Go ahead and just get that gas project going and then wait on this.
But we need to get it out there eventually anyways.
Yeah.
So the power is kind of a guess. All the power is up in the air there,
Yeah.
but it'd be nice to get it down underground to,
And that's what that 250 is, just to drop it?
that's a rough guess. We would fine tune that if we wanted to move forward.
Now, what piece of property were they looking at? The one on the,
Am I allowed to
Yep.
point to that one?
Are you
Okay.
allowed?
Just wanna make sure I'm not, they were looking right at this area, this
Okay.
lot or these two.
I was just making sure what we're putting in is gonna help them right away.
Yep, I'd actually suggested this, and they said, no, we actually like this a little better. I said, one side of the road versus the other,
It's okay.
kinda fits in. with
Long as
what
I
we
know.
were thinking.
All the utilities are right there too, right?
Yeah, right, currently we have, power and fiber running up Jerome Junction and Rodeo in the air. Water and sewer is in Jerome Junction and stubbed out to go down Rodeo, and ready for it. But gas is pretty far away.
Perkinsville,
Back-
right?
Back to 1 East and Perkinsville, somewhere in that area. There's a 4-inch line coming some of the way, but, I was told we needed 6 inches for the amount of gas that this park would probably need.
Now, I know it's off the subject, but if we're coming that far away, would some of those homes along Perkinsville be able to tie into gas to share the expenses? I don't know.
I think Joe and I kinda talked about that. I don't know how that works with Unisource. If it was a town utility, absolutely. You
And
could
it's
get
act-
some recapture from that. I know Century Ranch was looking at getting gas, if that subdivision moves forward.
So Frank, will it be coming up Perkinsville or just to the north?
I think we'd be coming through up Perkinsville and then up Jerome Junction.
Okay,
We have right of way.
so, and we do have Technicoat out there, and they've expressed, they use a lot of propane right now.
They would love to be
They
able
would
to.
love to
Yeah.
be, yeah,
And-
so that's one customer we have.
Are we tearing up Perkinsville, putting in Scassa?
That hasn't been looked at yet. We'd hope to be on the shoulder somewhere off of the road.
I was just wondering, cause 65 wouldn't or 650 wouldn't be road repair.
No,
so
you would hopefully just trench that in some of the ditch sections there.
Okay.
And Maggie,
Generally, the dry utilities like to be on the backside of, the outside of the right of way as much as possible.
How you feel about it, Mike?
Well, I think it's progress as far as I'm concerned. I want to get something out there for a long time, for many, many years, and this is exciting to me to go ahead and, but regardless what ends up out there, it's still gonna need gas, it's still gonna need all the utilities. And I just think if we can go ahead and have somebody share that expense, whether it be Color Tech or whether it be, private residents, it would make it easier for us to swallow.
And harder on our residents.
They're paying for propane anyhow. The gas will go ahead and
True.
one's gonna offset the other.
Annie?
I have no opinion.
Corey?
Yeah, I think we already talked about this and I was
I
good to go.
agree. Yeah, we beat this up pretty good last
Yeah,
time. You got anything, Mayor?
No, I'm ready.
I think
Proceed.
the main thing was you wanted to see the numbers, so we'll look at, maybe finding some designers to start working on this, I think would be the next step
Okay.
from some of our own calls.
And if Sprouts comes in there, we're gonna have to hustle to get,
Well, we can't say Sprouts, because that'll cause lots of rumors.
Yeah.
The grocery.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
clerks over there just,
Sprouts comes in, we'll have to hustle.
not
Okay.
saying the
We'll
name.
get with, town manager and figure out a strategy and
Okay, we good with that one then?
Yes.
I'm really hopeful. Can I be cautiously optimistic?
You can be cautious.
Sure, we all are.
Okay, item 4, consideration and discussion regarding requests for qualifications or RFQs related to the police facility.
Let me get
We're
some
deferring to
coffee.
Frank because it's a technical.
This comes into the contract, and Andrew's online if you need legal advice on this, but basically Andrew gave us a template for a contract to look at for a request for qualifications for architectural services for a police building. The contract itself would only go to 30% right now for the schematic design. The main things we would look at from the design would be the options of looking at current needs or current needs with some shelf space for future expansion, or just current needs with only the ability to add that shelf space, and kind of look at those 3 costs and bring those back to council to see if they want to proceed any further than 30% with any or more than one of those. And we would look at doing a construction manager at risk. So if we go to the next slide, I kind of gave a few points of some things. CMAR is almost like design build, except for you're hiring an architect and then you're coming back about after that 30%. So somewhere between 30 and 60% of the design, you'll bring a contractor on board through a qualification-based process and a selection committee to finish out the design and team up with the architect. So they say some of the benefits of that are you get the designer to customize the design based off the contractor's strengths. There may be certain building materials or techniques that they're better with. It reduces a lot of the bidding time.
Move you over here, Dick.
Because a standard bid project, that's a big thing, is advertising dates. You're wasting months and months with just advertising. And some of the other things I wanted to mention, it could almost be a downside. Not necessarily the cheapest price because it's negotiated prices. And the studies are mixed of whether it's actually cheaper than design, bid, build, or not. The theory is you get a mix of quality and price and not just the cheapest price. And to do so, it does require more oversight to ensure that it's transparent and open book, and that the contractor's gone out to his 3 quotes and all of that process to make sure you're getting the best price, since it's not a true competitive bid like a standard bid project that everyone's used to. So a little more oversight, but in this case, it might be a really good way to go, because you can get the designer on board. Like I said, Andrew wrote the contract to just stop at 30%. If it's too much, you can stop there and end the contract there, or you can amend the contract to design further and look at bringing in a contractor to team up with the designer to finish
No.
out the design.
This CMAR is the new way of doing the building, right, where you don't, what does that stand for? The construction at risk?
Construction manager at risk. So some of the risk they assume is that the contractor actually figures up the quantities and supplies the prices to you with a guaranteed maximum price. So it's supposed to reduce or almost eliminate change orders.
And just, I don't know what happened, but something just to check into would be the fire station. You know, they were 6 months over budget, or 6 months over their schedule, and like 160,000 over budget or something like that. And
Is that a design build one?
it was one of those.
Yeah.
And the money all came back to, they had to foot the bill on it, and I'm not sure how it works exactly, but might be something just to reference, you know.
Who
and
had to
see
foot
what
the
went
bill?
on.
Did the construction manager foot the bill, is that what you're saying?
No, the
Fire
department did.
department.
Oh, but
Yeah, so it doesn't eliminate the change orders that can happen. It's supposed to reduce them, but a lot of that goes into how well you scope the project.
And again, like I said, I don't know what happened, it's
Yeah.
just, you know, just whatever, there's 6 months over 160,000.
Is there a way to do this backwards and say, this is how much money we have, what can you build us? what can we get for this much money? And meanwhile, how much money do we have for this?
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I can break in there, I can give a little bit of context on this.
Sure, go ahead.
There are two things about the CM at risk project approaches that are helpful. One is you go into the process and give your designer the budget. And then as the CM at risk contractor comes in at 60%, they have to, when they sign the contract, when they sign off on a guaranteed maximum price proposal later on, they are guaranteeing you that they can build it at the price that was designed to. So that the idea is they're in early enough in the process to affect the design so that when they come back to you with a guaranteed maximum price proposal, which is an all-in number, that they should be able to build it for that amount. And then we build in, of course, liquidated damages provisions to keep them on schedule. And typically change orders in these types of contracts only come about when there's a change in scope or time that really is outside of everybody's anticipation. You know, something happens along the way. And I forget, moving on the camera. But really the main issue is that the guaranteed maximum price should be the contract price in 80% of these kinds of contracts. And the way that we draft ours is so darn onerous that people are serious when they sign it, that they understand that we're not going to change it unless it's something really that the town wants to change.
Okay, thank you.
You're way out in front on me. I'm lost. I'm back here trying to find out what kind of design and how much will it cost before we ever go out and do any of the other stuff. How much is this building gonna cost? And I'm like Corey. I'm way back here still wondering what the price is gonna be.
We
I
don't
think that's
know
what
the
we're trying to
price.
figure out.
Okay,
That's what we need.
and how much is it gonna cost to get us that price rather than contract with a
That was,
contract?
that was,
what this
my hand
does.
was up, so, do we have any rough estimates on what this might cost to get, this is to get the estimate of the cost?
Yes, that's what
and
I need to
design.
know.
We could find out, cause we're looking possible construction, 4 to 5 million,
Yeah,
so.
the preliminary work we looked at, you know, the other police departments, we were thinking $4 to $6 million would be the range.
We need a,
But
what is
The
it gonna cost us
idea
to
here
do
was
this?
to get, one, that's a good sized project, and we're hoping to get firms out of Phoenix who've done large municipal buildings. And we're gonna have them let us know what they've done as part of the references in the last few years, so we can just get an idea of a price per square foot as a ballpark.
So what's it
So-
cost to find that cost? That's what, they're wanting to
That's
know
what
what
this
this.
does.
What's the
That's
cost to
what
find
this-
that cost?
We're probably 150, 200,000 for a 30%
For this part, okay,
design.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for. Wow.
Because it's usually a percentage of the total cost, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
The
I think a
estimated
full
cost.
design's gonna be probably over $500,000 for a project this size. Somewhere between half of that and $1 million. Smaller projects, you come closer to 20% of construction, but I'm thinking you might get some economies of scale with a bigger project like this, it might be closer to 10%.
So if we do this,
ADOT runs about 14% for design.
if we do this 150 to 200, and we get there and it says it's gonna be some astronomical price that we can't do, then we're just out that money.
Right.
Or we scale back the scope of
But
the
you're,
project.
but you're not spending $500,000 or $600,000 from that. The contract only goes to 30% of the design before it comes back to council.
Okay, I guess I don't know why my question isn't being asked. How much money do we have? How much can the town afford for a police department?
Yeah, well, and, you know, the town will borrow the money to do this. It'll be a 25 to 30-year note. We can clearly afford between $4 and $6 million. Payment's gonna be $250,000 to $350,000 a year rough. So we can afford to make those payments.
And at the same time, we're trying to do our park, that's my concern. My concern right now is getting the business park going, having the money to do that.
We have the money in the capital improvement fund right now, cash in the bank to do the business park.
Go ahead, Lon.
So this will be a long-term investment for the community.
Well, I'm back at the same place I was at the last study session when we talked about this. Joe says we can borrow the money, we can afford to make the payment, but that's all we can afford. So that's where we're at.
At our, our current.
At our current point where we're at now, and things are not bad economy-wise and everything. If we do this, we're in. That's the whole ballgame. And for me, with everything that I'm staring at in this town that we need to do, I just can't see where we can take and put $4 or $5 million into one nest. That's just where I'm at. I think that something needs to be done with our police department, or, a facility. But I would be I'd rather go to where we're at right now, see what do we need to add on, what do we need to get them to put them in a place where they can do their job, they're comfortable, without going out and spending $5 million. We got too many other things we need to do in this town to be able to say we can afford to build a mansion, so.
Well, you missed it earlier. We're gonna have a nice sign though, labeling where it is.
Oh,
Do you think that's a matter of kicking the
There's a
can
little
down the road?
sarcasm in there.
pardon?
Do you think that's a matter of kicking the can down the road?
As far as what? Adding on to what we've got now?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a matter of living within our means. If you're having a hard time fixing the roof on the house, you don't go buy a brand new $80,000 four-wheel drive pickup truck just because it would be nice to have it. And you need good transportation. There's other ways of getting what you need and not going whole hog. That's all I'm saying. Is putting all our eggs in one basket.
So, just to clarify, what you're saying is, if we do this and we get that loan and the payments, whatever it was, 250, 300, then we won't have any wiggle room to do anything else.
Right. And that's
Do you
at the
agree with
current.
that?
Well, we're rolling over 500 to.
But if the economy
$500,000 a
tanks,
year.
we're screwed.
Yeah, it's true, we're living on
conservative,
sales
yeah.
tax. We have our solid reserves built up.
Mhm.
Interest rates right now are as low as they're ever gonna be.
Mhm.
And, if we move this 5 years down the road, our payments could be significantly higher. So it's just one of those, it's really whether the council wants to make that capital investment yet. So you've got a lot of pros in your closet. Interest rates being really low, our revenues are being very solid, we have good solid reserves. Now, if the economy goes to hell, interest rates go up, that's gonna change. It's gonna be harder, and then you'll have to make a decision, where do we cut? Just like we did the last time, the last recession.
Mhm.
So it's a gamble and there's risk. We're taking on risks, but is this the time? And that's really your policy decision. Is this the time to do that? We know we have a
Yes, sir, I've
need
got 2 weeks.
for our police department. We know our current situation is not the most ideal of what a police department should have for a community our size. So,
But Joe, if we do this loan, will it tie our hands from doing anything else?
if we continue on the same path we're on right now, our revenues are growing healthy, 2 to 3% per year. No, it's not. I mean, we can afford to do it. We have to stay on the same path we've been doing, though, is being very conservative, not add additional staff, not increase the recreation program. So we're gonna keep doing what we're doing, but on the rolling over, in excess of $500,000 a year has allowed us to build our reserves to about double what they need to be. And so this is just taking a piece of that off to make the payment.
What kind of costs we looking at extending the building you're currently in?
Is that even
I
possible?
mean, addition.
Is that possible where you are, or
You couldn't
addition?
work in it while we have to have functional workspace, so you can't just shut us down. We're about 25% of the space we need. So I don't know how you would do that without just creating a new building.
And not ADA compliant?
Yeah.
At all?
No.
My concern is we have this project going at Old Home Ranch, and then doing this other project, and I agree with Lon. That's really extending our finances as far as I'm concerned. I know you need a building, I know you need those things. If we can do something else, I'd sure like to find out, other than spending $5 million right now.
And that's what our
Till we get the Old Home Manor thing laid out and what we're gonna do.
The biggest problem is we really don't know how much this is gonna be. And so this RFP was our attempt to try to
Yeah.
at least get a decent range, so then you can make the decision, are we ready to pull this trigger or not?
So Mike, how do you feel about going for the RFQ to establish a price
Well,
at 150 to 200,000?
Since I've been on council, we've pushed a lot of things that I thought were good through. And then we still go ahead and other things we would like to do, we can't get done. Because we don't have the economy yet. My interest is really sparked with this company that might come in here, that's looking to us. And if we get them established and on the road and a couple following, I will have the money to do the fire or the police station. So, I think at this time we need to hold off. Either expand what they've got, build something next to it where they can go ahead and use that. I mean, then we knock a hole in the wall after the other one gets built. But, not a lot of money.
Sonny?
That's
I
where I'm at.
understand.
Yeah, I don't wanna go out and spend even $200,000 on something that, if everybody sitting here was saying, okay, we're 80% there, that we're gonna do this, I'd say, let's go spend the $200,000 to find out exactly where we're at.
Mhm.
But I don't think that's where we're at. So
Agreed.
I'm really not, $200,000 is still a lot of money to me, so.
Annie?
I tend to be a realist, but right now I'm really optimistic. Do you guys remember when we voted for $46,000 for a study? It wasn't even the engineering, but it was just the study for the traffic light at Road 1 North. That to me was astronomical. And I'm 100% for this. I am. The PD is, their department is, I wouldn't move into it if it was a rental. Sorry, chief. You know, it's
Well, I
just,
mean,
it's
your money, you can
substandard.
Do what you want, but, you're one lawsuit away from spending more than $5 million. And we're not ADA compliant ourselves. We've had doors lock on the cells and can't get people out of them, had to have the fire department come open them. I mean, the building's crap. It should have been replaced 15 years ago. And we've kicked the can, and I've brought idea after idea after idea, and they've been shot down every time. I looked at modular office space 12 or 14 years ago. We looked at this building, and it's been kicked down the road, not by you guys, you weren't on the council at the time, but, I'm at the point, it hurts me recruiting. I mean, you walk in my building, it looks like shit.
Mhm.
And try to recruit people when they go look at Prescott or Prescott Valley or, any of the other departments. So there's a lot of other factors, but, besides just the fact that we need space. But I think if you start trying to add on and build space, you're still gonna spend, a lot of money, and then you just got, a patchwork. And when we're talking $5 million, we're not talking a Taj Mahal, we're talking just functional space, but that meets all the current ADA and, the things that regulate the holding cells and holding prisoners and that type of thing, because we're literally just one accident away in a big lawsuit. But I mean, there again, not you guys, but I went through the recession, we kept a pool open that was losing $100,000 a year. And we're talking $250 to build a building, so, there's arguments on both sides. I know you don't have an easy decision, but, it's making my job very difficult.
When do we get an exact cost of what it would cost to do this study? And then we'll bring it and put it on the agenda?
I think that's what the RFQ does, is they then tell us what it costs.
Tell
then we
us
come
what
back
it
to you.
costs to do the
Right.
RFQ, and we'll bring it to council, and then we'll vote it, yea or nay.
The RFQ itself doesn't cost
It
anything.
won't cost us anything to go out.
To go out.
We'll have all the firms come in and give us a proposal.
So we'll
give
know
us the
what it
cost.
Then you'll
costs
know,
to do
yeah.
the study,
And then
yes.
we'll hand-
Right.
And then we'll be able to say, okay, here's the cost of the study, do you wanna do it, yes or no?
Yes or no, that's what we need.
Doesn't cost us anything, except.
I think at the pace we're going, as you talked about Old Manor, I mean, you're talking about within a year to get that done. We probably won't even be past the design stage
So,
in a year or so.
Let's see up front what it,
Yeah,
And different funding too.
yeah.
right.
Okay.
And then bring it to the council, put it on the agenda,
Okay.
and we'll see where it goes.
What's the square footage that you have right now?
Including both my buildings, a little less than 4,000, and the detective building's about 75% just evidence storage. But then that doesn't count all my sheds and connexes that we store into, so. But workspace, we have less than 4,000.
And then in the idea, the initial idea of what this new building would be, how many square feet are we talking?
Probably 10. But the ability to expand, what we were looking at is not, the three options, and this is kind of what the county did with the jail. So my goal was not to leave somebody else a mess for 15 years down the road, so at least have an idea of how this building could be expanded and not come back to a council, 15 years and go, oh, we need another new building. And that's what Prescott Valley's done. They've done 2 expansions on their existing building. So that's part of the design would be to go ahead and plan for the future, but get us what we need for today.
And that's upward or sideways, or just?
That would be an engineering question,
Yeah,
I think from.
they'll answer
Yeah,
that.
I mean, to me, going up would just keep your footprint smaller, so if you wanted to put other things on the campus later, you'd have the ability to do that, so. But I'm not an engineer, so.
We're looking at 3 stories, just kidding. Just kidding.
Is there a design that goes with this 30% as well? Is that correct?
Just 30% design.
Yeah.
Preliminary design.
They just get so far.
But that
messed up.
design would stay, it would still be good, just the
Yeah.
pricing might be off.
Mhm.
So it's not a total loss, you'd have some design.
You have a scope, a
So-
good scope.
So if we put out the RFP, by the end of February, we'll come back, we'll have interviewed all the firms that have proposed and talked to them, and basically selected the best one that we think, and then we'll have a price of what it'll take, and then you guys at that time can decide whether you wanna award the contract or not. Part of this due diligence we're trying to do, though, is to get get a reasonable or a good square price per foot of what we're looking at. Because if it's 500 a square foot, it's a lot different than 300 a square foot. And if it's 300 a square foot, yeah, it's a lot more affordable for us.
Right.
And we'd have the ability then to work with the architects and stuff, and if we have to scale back, then we can work with somebody that builds these type of buildings that can help us do that and bring it, within a budget that we can afford.
Plus, we'll also do the homework of clearly defining what the need is. How big of
Yeah.
each of the rooms are and stuff.
That's what a lot of the preliminary design will get you, is that upfront homework.
But we gotta do something, I agree, we gotta do something somehow. I think everybody here feels that way. The question is how? Yes, ma'am?
EPS.
APS or EPS?
EPS, that was the firm, correct, for Old Home Manor. What did we spend on them roughly? So like 180?
Their original proposal was like $250,000. We only
But
ended
we
up spending
stopped.
about 30,000, I think,
Okay.
in total.
And ideally, right now, you're looking at having this new building where?
Here.
Right up there?
Why are you pointing that way?
I'm sorry, behind this building, well, there again, I'm not an engineer, I don't know where on the property would fit best, but because the town owns the property, I think it would make sense.
We got
Puts us
5
right in the
acres.
center of town, there's utilities on the property, so, that's the biggest thing too, as far as outside of just the space is where we're located, is not in the central part of town, and we're back in a residential area, so from a response time as the town grows, being here at the center would be the most ideal spot for us.
Another option for cost. We have that 2 million plus floating around that we spent 50 times that we never spent, right?
You've spent 500,000 of it,
We did.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
good.
paid off your
That's
equipment
right.
lease purchase.
That's right.
So we have $1.5 million this year, and it looks like we're gonna spend at least 600 and some thousand on the gas line here pretty quick. And then all the
Oh,
rest-
that will come out of that?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the Old Home Manor stuff is that extra 1.5
Okay.
so far.
All right. So that's what we're gonna do then. You're gonna get quotes for the RFQ.
Yeah, we'll put the RFQ out, get the firms in, get
Come
quotes
back.
for what the
And then go
30%
back.
design will be, how much that'll be.
Good.
Okay.
All right, item 5, consideration discussion regarding the design concept reports, DCRs for West and East Road to North. We don't have no money left.
Well, you asked me to bring this to you. I can pass
But
it
we
by
need
if
to know
you
what it
want.
costs,
Um,
regardless of where they have the money.
Third time I've been here for this.
8?
Oh, they're not all. So
They're not all
Um,
connected?
yeah, maybe
Are
just
we
leave
gonna,
it like
what,
that.
I think before we get both of them, what's more important, east or west?
East. Depends on cost. I would say east too, but cost.
Do you have cost for both?
I do.
Okay.
I say
We
Roads
heard
and
from-
Don't
Streets
know if that's
Committee
my question to
recommended.
But we only heard from a
East,
couple
I
of
know
them.
you guys recommend east.
Just you two said it. Did you say east?
Would you say east or west?
East.
Oh,
East,
yeah.
east.
I'd like to do
Andy,
west,
what do
but
you
we
think,
really
east
need
or
east.
west?
I'm torn.
Okay, Lon? East or west?
On 2 North?
Mm-hmm.
East.
Mike?
I like west.
I like
Okay.
west too, but.
I like
we need
west
east.
because if these people have brought things to us, ever developed, they're gonna need sewer, they're gonna need water, they're gonna need a better road.
Okay. So there you go.
I think
Yeah.
east and west are inevitable, realistically. It's just a
Probably.
matter of what
Yeah.
we do first.
Long term.
Okay.
Which
Um,
first?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Excuse me.
So if I run through these, and then I maybe have Richards here with Civil Tech, and maybe he can explain a little bit better of what we get when I say a DCR, what that means, and what his proposals are looking to provide. So go to the next slide. We'll just run through this pretty quickly. Everybody knows most of this. This is the East project, which would start at the highway and run to Road 1 East, and widen out to 3 lanes. Next slide would be, some of the benefits would be, we'd need to look at drainage, utility, right-of-way, geotechnical is how thick the pavement needs to be. Current traffic, we're at 6,700 cars a day. That's probably our busiest road in town that's not state highway. And I put on there, rule of thumb engineers use is 2 lanes with a turn lane can handle up to about 18,000 cars a day. That's where I'm fairly confident, and Dow's done a traffic study, that we probably don't need to go to 4 or 5 lanes for this stretch anytime soon, that we can, the 3 lanes will really help. Having that turn lane really helps with the amount of traffic you can put on a road.
Frank, are you saying the time frame for the design is 12 to 18 months?
For a full design. This is from an old project, sorry.
Okay.
And full design budget might be in the upwards of 400,000, but Richard can maybe speak to that more. If we go to the next slide, in Richard's proposal, this is kind of a highlight of what you got. Do you want to go over any of this, Richard?
That's
Or-
pretty self-explanatory, basically looking at what's there, what you need, how light to make it, what the utility conflicts are, what the drainage conflicts are, how many parcels are to be served, or with an assessment methodology and assessment distribution, if you go the improvement district route. So we're basically looking at what we need to make that 3-lane road happen. And we'll leave, as part of this, we'll do about a 30% subsidy. Similar to what you're talking about with the police station. It's a report that gets us there as cost estimates that you can use for budgeting for the actual road construction beyond that.
And really, when you look at east versus west, down about halfway, it says 8 sheets. And when we get to the west, really the big difference, the other one's 12. So the next slide's Richard's cost estimates for this. This is just for the design concept. And these are pretty firm numbers. So this would be in the contract coming to you if you wanted to move forward with the east side. Total price of $56,000 to get us to about a 30% design to produce that design concept report. And the tasks are just tasks within that design concept. So the 30 and 90 is more like 10 and 20%
There's some
of total design.
30% submittal, 90% submittal.
So that's just submittals that staff would review during the design process. And then moving on, the west side's much like the east side. We've got road improvements to 1 West and utility extensions. And then we would just concentrate along the Del Rio property past One West, so just looking for utilities extensions through there.
On the east side, we're looking at going all the way to Pepper Tree.
Okay,
Looking to Road 1. and
to
then
fix that alignment issue?
Yeah, all the way along.
So the alignment issue on Pepper Tree or on one east?
That's where I screwed up on my exhibits. If we go back to slide 2, I should have drawn that line further.
Yeah, we were assuming all the way to Pepper Tree.
If we
Looking at
go
alignments is-
all the way to Pepper Tree, you can tie in where that dog leg is that everyone complains about that we just paved.
Mhm.
And that way the eastbound lane would line up with the rest of,
I
Two
have one
north.
question. You said a 3-lane road. Are you talking about one each way in a turn lane?
Center turn, continuous center turn.
So it's like the highway, it's there the whole
Pretty
time?
much, you have that turn lane in the middle of the
Right,
road.
okay.
That's-
yeah, two-way left turn lane.
What about the power lines? Is that,
Buried.
That's what we looked at. We,
Yeah,
part
you
of
know,
the process lighting area.
yeah,
It's right there.
that one big pole in the corner?
And they're looking at burying the
Yeah, they need to be really,
So
that's
that would be-
expensive.
That would be part of Richard's task, would be to look at the utilities, including the irrigation district, the drainage coming out of Country West, the power that's in the air. We've got distribution to one east, and then once you hit one east, there's some transmission lines too. So, that's the big bugaboo.
Yeah, part of this is coordinating with all utility companies to see what they need, what they're gonna relocate. and
So he'd be actually getting plans from them and do a solid, not just guess of, oh, it'll cost this. They actually put it on paper.
It also includes a complete topographic survey of the entire alignment, so when you get to design eventually, the survey's already done. And that's a big expense.
And right away as well.
Right away, easement acquisition, all these kind of things that affect project construction.
Okay, so if we go back down to slide 7, again, these are the same things as the east, just the 12 sheets, and the cost. It's a little bit longer project, so slide 8. So it's a couple $1,000s more, but they're really close. And that's it. The other slides are just in case you had questions about things from an older presentation. So,
And it's okay to talk about me, lawyer, I have thick skin, so it's not hard. I've been a city engineer in a lot of places.
You didn't do this,
So,
did you?
the one thing with One West is we're talking about doing some sort of improvement district or
Right,
recapture.
assessment.
Yeah.
Or assessment district. And because this is gonna be a multi-million-dollar project probably on both sides, I would imagine. So, I mean, I like the idea of that, and coming back to lawn, going east, I don't know how we're gonna pay for that.
Well, part of this,
That's a lot, that's a big number.
part of this, after we get the construction cost estimates squared away, is to look at assessments on each parcel, to see how much each parcel would have to pony up for their portion of the construction. And there's a million ways to do that, and square footage, acreage, frontage, there's a million ways to do it. So we look at some equitable means of distributing the cost of the property owner. So you'll have that as well.
The cost of the road improvement would go
Yeah,
to
I
the
didn't
property
like
owner?
that.
If you do an improvement district, you can do it that way.
That's an if.
Through a process, and I've done a few of those in the past. Matter of fact, one with Joe in Williams, I'm a city engineer there. So the methodology can be as complex as you want it to be, or as straightforward as you want it to be, or as equitable as you want it to be, depending on what the parcels are, what the usage. Like I said, you can look at frontage, you can look at acreage of the parcels, there's different ways to do it, and that
So
will be part of the discussion.
I go back to the same thing as the mandatory sewer hookups and stuff. How would you like to be the people that lived on that road?
Yeah. And what about the federal
When somebody knocks on
property?
your door and says, hey, we're gonna widen this road and make everything real pretty, it'll cost you 25 grand. Write me a check.
Well, in Williams, we did one where the project was designed, constructed, came in under the estimates, under budget, so that everybody's assessments were reduced, and we had a loss. Yeah, I mean, they were suing us because they had to pay less.
And it went to the
It was
state
great.
Supreme Court, and we got a judgment in
went to the
favor of the
Supreme
city,
Court.
so. But most of the parcels on one, heading west are those big developments that are coming.
I was gonna say, they're gonna have the impacts on the
So there-
infrastructure, so.
Yeah, there's very few small residential properties up that street. And the one developer that wants to do Clayton Homes across from the school to the south, that little, is it a 40-acre
Slide
parcel?
5.
I mean, they're really interested in getting utilities down to it, so they
Or 6.
definitely participated in it.
Yeah,
He actually called a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's called me a couple times. If we look at the bottom left corner of the intersection below the school there, that 40 acres that's open, he said he would be in favor of looking at something like this to help develop that property of his. So he would be willing to look at participating.
To Don's point, that may be this may be a site where we do it on square footage of parcels. So the smaller residential parcels don't get assessed nearly as much as the 40-acre parcels.
He said
Very
yeah.
good.
His statement was he couldn't afford to extend utilities all the way out there just to get that thing going, but if it was a shared cost, he's in favor of looking at that.
Then he can make it pencil, he says, right now he can't without anything there.
And you can also look at zoning, so highest likely usage. So you do square footage and the multifamily residential homes are gonna pay more per square foot than the single-family residential homes, let's say. So,
Like we said, there's many ways to do it, so we wanted to do it in the most equitable distribution of the costs.
So that's
That's your 30%.
What do you think?
that's the pitch. We can do one, both, none.
Well, I get what you're saying with, you don't know how you're gonna pay for the east side, where you have means of paying for the west side. But the east side is already our problem.
It is a problem.
I mean, it's a wreck.
Yeah.
If we could collect a buck from everybody that complains about the east
we can
side,
do a toll road there.
we could pay for it.
If I had a
Be
dime.
paid for.
Yep.
We need to relocate the post office and.
Yeah, it's gotta close that one driveway coming out of the Safeway vending gas stations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
I go in there all the time.
What about just the parking lot again, in Safeway?
You don't know what's gonna go in where the food store was, so.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
I'm still for one west,
Okay.
or for west, the
West
west
to-
side,
west
because
to-
I can see so much of it being expanded. We
What's
need,
the,
go ahead. We need these people to go ahead and start their projects that they came to us and gave us this great big thing, then it's on hold. They haven't done nothing, because they don't have sewer, they don't have water, they don't have this, they don't have that.
what's the traffic count on west? You gave east, but you didn't give west.
I did not, and I don't have it with me. I'm thinking 3,000 to 4,000.
Path?
maybe.
Path with the east.
Yeah, once you get, for example, once you get past 1 east on the east side, it drops to about 4,500. The big congestion is that first
Lon?
half mile.
Well, I'm not in favor of doing anything on the west side unless we can take care of the east side too.
I agree,
And
in my opinion.
I do want to throw in that if you do these as like districts or anything like that, they have to be separated because of the state highway. Legally, they can't be one project together. They would have to be,
Two
you
separate.
could do them at the same time, but they'd have to be legally two separate things.
Annie?
I have a couple of different concerns. Obviously, the east side needs to be addressed. How are we gonna get what are we gonna do with the post office? Basically, I need warm fuzzies from you that financially we're gonna be okay with all the projects
He's not a
on the
warm
table.
fuzzy guy.
I know he's not a warm
Can't guarantee
fuzzy
you
guy.
that on that one.
I know. I'm trying to spin this all around in my head. I see two sides, no pun intended. The west side, we're looking at all this potential development. I don't know if the reason why they're stalling isn't because they don't have the infrastructure there. The road personally is a nightmare, I think, but so is the east side. But I think on the east side, we face more challenges with what's already there and the properties that are already there. And I will never be in favor of having the property owners cough up money to help us with this. I know that doesn't sound fair, but, it's not fair to them. It's not. Does this, I'll wait till after this
I
discussion.
got a question to what you just said. So are you talking any of the property owners, or are you talking about the small mom and pop long-term residence properties?
I'm talking the 1E specifically is what I was referring to when asking.
Like
them.
existing.
The existing, yeah,
The
the
existing,
existing
right.
businesses property, I don't,
Like Lon said, that's our problem, because it's there, it's done, it's
Yeah.
developed.
And I
we
think,
can't just make a different road.
Right, but One West, I mean, that's pretty much undeveloped, you know, except
Right.
for a few residential, but, and the developers coming in are gonna be big developers, are gonna do lots of homes or lots of apartments. So getting those big parcels into the district, sharing the cost is fair.
and am I correct that any sort of improvement district like that would need some sort of approval or vote?
Oh, yeah, you have to have your bond attorneys involved with that, you guys are gonna sell the bonds, the guys that form the districts, usually sell bonds to fund it, it's a 20-year payback on the process. 51% of the landowners need to vote it in, need to, come up, yeah, you can.
50
Actually-
plus, 50 plus one.
Actually, can I interrupt there for a second?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Forming an improvement district in Arizona is actually an opt-out process where the council would decide to form the district, would develop a resolution of intention to form, and then it would require more than 50% to opt out to cause the district to not be formed. Whereas some of the newer versions, like the community facilities district, are actually votes of the residents who live within the district.
Understand, correct?
Thank you.
That's why he's here.
I think I almost put our police department ahead of One East. At this point, I wanna see where we end up with on, possible options on what else we can do there before we commit to doing, the whole, creating a district, I'm not for that at all, because I, like Lon says, just to do it and shove it up someone is just not, we've been down that road before and it didn't go well. So I think until we, again, figure out just what we're gonna end up in, Mr. Purvis, I know he said before he spends his money, he wants to make sure something is locked right in. I kinda wanna see on the Old Home Manor what our return's gonna be and just what kind of deal we're looking at coming back from that expenditure out there. And if that ends up paying for itself and the money that we're spending out there is coming back, then I would be a little more willing to bite off another project. But until we see what our return at Old Home Manor is gonna be, I think we're just going too many ways with, not enough money. So I'm on hold.
Mayor?
I'd like to see the west side done, but I don't see anybody running in there and building anything right now, so I think the critical part of that road is the east side because of all the traffic we have over there. But I'm with Corey. Maybe we need to look at and see what it's gonna cost us to do that, but I don't wanna commit to the east side yet.
I would say the one that concerns me the most on the east side is the right-of-way costs. Construction's construction. It costs, we know what it costs to put pipe in the ground. We know what it costs to build a road. I am curious what the right-of-way costs are gonna be as far as to acquire those properties. And that was just one item in that list.
You could put a property tax on the ballot and see what that does.
Three-story buildings and a property
So,
tax.
We could discuss.
I actually see that as going back out for the police department.
That could,
These people, they voted that, they said police department #1. Well, let them put their money where their mouth is. And I know, but
a
that's,
possibility too.
that is a time down the road, and I know, again, Lon proposed that, instead of going for the streets to begin with. So,
well, I think what's before us is just doing if we want to do the study to come up with a cost. And what you're saying, if I'm understanding right, Corey, is you don't think that we should spend the money on that at all until we find out what the PD's doing?
Yeah, and when we do get ready to reconsider this, I would like to just pull out the one line, and that would be right of way to begin with. Because that I think is the hardest, or is that not, is that, I don't even know how you figure that one.
What we do is we design the road to see
Yeah.
what the impacts are on adjacent properties, and then determine how much right of way is
Yeah.
required to construct the road within, either you have the right of way or you don't, and if it's, if all the slopes and things are going outside the existing right of ways, then you apply it. And depending on what kind of construction it is, you can get temporary construction easements that might work for the folks that let you put a little fill on your project. Otherwise, it's gonna be fill on right of way, but you'll either purchase or have donated or.
So it's really not as simple as just one lining it for a
You
price.
have to have a pretty good idea.
So
Yeah.
58,000 was the cost of doing money?
56 going
56
east,
going east.
58 going west. I think, I was in the middle of my dissertation.
Yes, ma'am.
I think
He's
east-
gonna be a hell of a mayor, you know?
I think east is more important than west to me. I think if they wanted to build bad enough, they would come in and build and bring this water and sewer, the 500 feet or whatever it is down there, and they could work a deal with the town. I don't think the west is, I don't think if we put sewer in there that they come in here tomorrow wanting to build. But I do think, and I'm not in favor of the district thing. I don't think it's fair to the property owners to pay for something that we've kind of neglected over, so. I don't know, this is 58,000, can go towards PD, so what are we doing? We just putting the whole thing on hold? Is that what we wanna do?
Can we just build a new road?
Sure.
Build a new 2 north?
Do you wanna bring this back to the council? What do you wanna do with it?
I think we can probably let it die for now.
Not?
Or Frank?
Yeah, I don't see that we really have anything to bring to council right now,
Okay.
myself.
You the same way, Mike?
I agree.
Annie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since we have quotes, what I recommend is maybe we'll just put it in next year's budget, and we can bring it back during the next budget approval.
You can
see
decide
if we
yes or
wanna
no, yeah.
Sounds
continue.
like a winner.
We know it's gonna cost us to do
Yeah.
this, so.
Yeah, that sounds
It's a
good.
long
That's
time
good.
to plan these, and I hate to see what one east is gonna look like if it's 18 months just to get it.
It's, and right away, as Richard can probably attest to, sometimes right away can really hang up a project. If you get someone not wanting to go along with it.
Road went east.
Very
good example.
Glen
There you
Orange,
go.
yeah, the Glen
They
Arm
do the
property.
hostage and then make you go through condemnation and all that stuff. So,
Right.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, we've done it.
We just did it.
Okay, item 6, consideration and discussion regarding extending town utilities into Roadrunner Park.
Okay, I put some of this together and I need to beg forgiveness for some of this because, well, it saves money. So,
We got cheaper.
it got cheaper. I figured, I was estimating all the way through the park, and after consulting with our finance director, he said, no, once you get into the park, they take care of that cost. So, we just saved $1
You
million
just have to
bucks
go in the
right
back
there.
gate then.
Yeah.
We get it to the road.
So if we go to slide 2, and I can save this money too. This is just to get it to the park. What we're looking at is there's a manhole on Juniper with some sewer. Water's already all the way down Juniper. So the water would just go down 1 east, that little dogleg section down there. But sewer would need to run down Juniper and then 1 east to the park. And we're looking at $500,000 or so rebuilding the street and everything. But something I do want to mention, underneath the word Juniper Drive there, that's 10 acres from Pepper Tree to 1 east. That particular property is coming before planning and zoning
On Tuesday, next
on,
Tuesday.
on Tuesday to look at potential PAD.
it's a PAD rezoning for 45 lots, approximately 5,500 square feet lots. Price point, the developer is anticipating below 200,000 stick-built homes.
So, that being said, if their development goes through there, per our code, they are responsible for extending water and sewer along to the farthest edge of their boundary, so we would have water and sewer to that bottom green dot, which goes into Roadrunner Trailer Park.
How long to pay that $500,000 off as far as,
That would be zero.
It's gonna be zero.
okay.
Now you have to think that development goes through, which is an if at this point. But if that development goes through, the developer is responsible for those costs.
So if we pay for it in the beginning, are they responsible to reimburse?
If you have, that would be an Andrew question if they have an agreement.
How many units would they have?
Andrew's not even paying attention, he's sleeping.
So.
He's got his dog.
Where's your dog, Andrew?
Where's the dog?
So,
I tried to catch the dog and put him up in the stream, but he would not follow my directions.
so the question is, we're looking at developing along the boundary of a potential
Yeah,
subdivision?
I heard it.
Okay.
And
He
I
was wrong
don't
on
know
size.
that we want to try and make it a forced reimbursement. If we know we're going to be doing something that's going to benefit the property owner, we would go in ahead of time and deal with the reimbursement aspect, because your code's clear that you have that ability to require it. And typically, we want to make sure that the kind of improvements that were being done were something that we're not going to have to fight about later on.
Yeah, the trick with this particular development is they were actually proposing the sewer running through the development, so it would benefit them a little bit and save a few dollars, because the development to the north is Colonial Villas. They're already served by sewer, or planned to be served by sewer when that development completes. So if the sewer doesn't necessarily run underneath Juniper as engineer, I don't think that's a big deal, as long as I can get it to that southwest corner. And if they want to run it through this interior roads of the subdivision instead of Juniper, I don't see that being a problem from the town's perspective as far as being able to operate the utilities.
So basically what you're saying, this is gonna be on hold until you figure out what's going on Tuesday?
That's what I would recommend.
Or council making the final decision.
Because it's
Right.
not just planning and zoning, it'll come to council after that for the zoning.
That's what I'm saying, but we really can't do anything with this now until we know where it is.
Yeah,
Right.
And this would be stipulations of the zoning.
Well, we're anticipating bringing him to the first council meeting in December, because
Okay.
of the last council meeting in November was canceled.
Lonnie?
Well, and I don't like to, I don't want to be negative about it, but we also have to remember that many other parcels have come in for rezone for projects.
Not developed, I know.
And they get them rezoned and then they do nothing.
Mhm.
So,
That's the if.
I've talked about that before. We ought to put something in our code that says if you don't develop within 24 months, you lose the zoning.
Yeah.
I would concur with that.
Would you
I
bring
support
something
that.
forward to the council?
I could do
That'd
that.
be nice.
He's been listening to our conversations.
Yeah. You have our offices bugged.
Thing one and thing two.
We've talked about that before.
That's
But
what,
Roadrunner came to us, what, a year and a half ago, I talked to you?
It's been a few years.
It was before
About,
me.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
they would like to have sewer down there, and they would go ahead and help, and tie into it.
How many units?
So what's the payback, what's the return?
How many units?
How many units do they have to hook up?
So they would be calculated differently, right? Like Country
Yeah.
West?
Yeah, so they're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be,
the bottom
On the
slide.
fixture units and,
Maybe we have 20 homes in there, maybe?
what do they got?
but what about like the washing mat or the laundromat?
Yeah.
Oh, if they put all that on, yeah, you bet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're
They're
typically
kit-
gonna pay about
do the whole thing.
60% of what our normal sewer and volume fees are, because they're small units, and we go and calculate the number of fixture units in each unit that's there.
And then if we could catch this new subdivision, then it would really be,
really help.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a,
Can
It's
can
a
we get this
no-brainer.
clear as far as who pays for what? As far as you get a subdivision like that in there, is it, each house is paying their $6,000 hookup? Or is this calculated through the whole plat? Or how is this broke down? What? Explain
Typically,
it to
the
me, please.
developer puts in the improvements according to what they're required to do, and then those costs are just filtered down and part of the purchase price of the home or
The lots.
The
the
lot.
lots.
And then we charge $6,000 as our buy-in fee or our capacity fee to basically hook up to our distribution system and our sewer plant,
Each lot?
Yes.
each lot.
Okay.
Is that for
There
both
you go.
6,000 water and sewer?
No, 6,000, a little over, it's 6,100.
200 and something.
Yeah, so 6,000 for sewer and 4,000 for water, so they pay
So
10,000.
it's $10,000.
Yeah, a
So
little
the-
bit more now.
So the developer is doing 40, when he, 40, 45 lots. Then he puts in the water and sewer, and they then bring it to their corner.
Right.
And
It's
then
in the
that-
road.
To the road.
Or
That
to
then
the
gets
lot
hooked
line.
up to the city. Now, do we have it to that point yet?
That's ours.
We're already there.
No.
No, that's
No,
it.
we're not.
Why not?
We wanna get
But it
there.
becomes ours when they bring it up to the road.
You're right, it's not there right now.
Yeah.
That's right. It's not there right now.
But he's saying, I
Okay.
think we're talking different
Now,
things.
as far as the extension
Uh-huh.
from where we are now up to them,
They pay for it.
Up to
They
where,
pay-
the house, or, I think you guys aren't talking
You're
the
not
same
talking the
thing.
same thing.
No, I think I know what he's asking.
they have their, let's say they're gonna develop that corner, okay? Then they bring they funnel all of their lots to that corner.
The developer.
The
Okay, it's
developer.
the developer.
But meanwhile, the town is still 2 blocks away. Okay?
Mhm.
So who pays to bring that up
The 2 blocks?
the 2 blocks?
Well, it would be what we kind of discussed with Brook Apartments. So Brook Apartments would put in the infrastructure, and then the other properties that it's bringing it past would be assessed.
No, we're talking about who pays for that, he's asking who pays for that 100 or 1,000 yards or whatever it is to bring the infrastructure up to the lot,
The-
to where the
If you're,
property or developer can go
um,
on with it.
Andrew, what's the term for that? It's,
Oh, it's not an extension agreement, but there's a term in our code that deals with this specific issue, and the developer is the one required to pay for it, and then the town will assist them in getting repaid by the people who benefit from it, who come in afterwards.
yeah, but in this case, there's actually utilities at the lot line
At the lot line, so there wouldn't be a
of
problem.
the subdivision
Okay.
that's in
Then
question.
it'd be by the subdivision to take it from the lot.
So it's the subdivision's responsibility for all the internal utilities that they put in with the new roads
Okay.
and to stub out the sewer and water into 1 East to extend it all the way to the southwest corner of 1 East per code.
Right.
That's the developer's responsibility. On top of that, when the home builder comes in, they're responsible for the $10,000 connection fee.
Well, if the
Is how
developer
it
already built the
works.
homes, that's just figured into the price of the house, didn't it?
Well,
When they go
yeah,
ahead
but
and
he
buy
was
it?
asking where that connection fee goes. So when you build a new home, on top of what the developer put in the roads and to the lot line, whoever builds that home is responsible for paying the connection fee to the water and sewer. Normally, it's wrapped in the mortgage where the actual home buyer doesn't necessarily see it, but it's there, and it's a
We say
responsibility
that
of the
money
home
on our
builder.
budget, where is it listed on our budget?
We put that in our enterprise funds, and it helps build the reserves.
And that's part of the cost of the plant and the capacity of the plant and all of those figures.
If the town does not have a line to their, adjoining their property, up to their property, and
Right.
it's 2 blocks away,
Then the developer still pays for it, but he's entitled to recapture some of that cost when the adjoining properties that benefit from that line
Tie into it.
come on board. They have to
so
pay
you can
him.
force a developer to bring it the 2 blocks
If
up
he's
to
gotta
this
go, if
property.
he wants the utilities, he's gonna have to put them in.
Okay, why can't he just then put in septic tanks?
It depends on the project.
Because our
Some
code
can't.
says that if you're less than half an acre lot,
Mhm.
thou shalt be on sewer.
It depends on your project.
And it's considered a
And if you're
subdivision.
less than an acre by state law, you're not allowed to run well and septic, so you at least need to be on one or the other, or haul water or something. So it's depending on those rules, and it's the town council, you guys, that set the majority of those rules.
But let's go back to where you started. The way we started this conversation is about running the sewer on that road. Anyway,
Right, I was tasked to bring numbers for getting sewer to Roadrunner Park, so
right,
that's what I did.
so that was in the process of doing that, and then the carrot, was, well, we have this other subdivision coming in. So, there again, if,
And those are
the only way that they're gonna pay for it is if they come in first, before we do it. Correct?
Correct.
So,
Unless, Andrew, could the town put their own recapture notice on there? But that's what you're saying would be complicated, right?
yeah, here I am.
I think we've already
Well,
answered.
we've talked about that in the past, and what we would do is work with the property owner to have an agreement that they understand that the approach main that they would otherwise have had to build themselves is now being built by the town, and that the town's gonna seek reimbursement for that whenever they come in. And it's better when we do it by agreement, but you have the code provision that allows you to get reimbursed. So I think it's what subdivision developers do. They provide the infrastructure to the place that it has to connect to. And in this case, you might have a joint project that you can do to run it past the park, and then, have a cost benefit to both entities to do it that way. But, in the end, if they build first, they have to build the whole thing.
So looking at that, I think that when we look at what our expenditure might be, we have to assume that we're gonna pay for all of it. Wouldn't you say so?
And hope for the best.
Well, that's,
I think you can look at it either way. We cannot do the project and wait, or we can move forward and look at.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
we're gonna
my-
go forward, we have to assume that we're gonna pay the whole thing, because we have no
Yeah.
guarantee that
There is no
that
guarantee,
they're gonna
right?
go forward.
well,
So-
my recommendation would be to wait the 3 months and see what happens with this subdivision
Mhm.
first.
Well,
Okay.
we'll know by December whether you as a town council approve the project or not.
But it doesn't mean that they're gonna start.
Build it.
That's correct,
Yeah.
but
That's the rezoning, that
But the
doesn't mean they're gonna
approval-
build.
is the first step.
Yeah.
Now, with this recapturing part, how many subdivisions are we not getting because of this added burden that we're putting on?
This added, well, I don't know, because that's the code everywhere I've ever worked, is similar to this, so I don't know that it's unusual to have this sort of code.
'Cause I guess I look at something like that's something that a town would, you put in your water and sewer, and then when they hook to it, now every month you're getting paid back for it.
Development pays for development is,
They pay for their property, what they developed. But as far as bringing it to them on a city street, I would think that would be the city's,
Yeah, but it hasn't been that way in the past.
You're saying the 2 blocks. kind of
Huh?
thing. You're saying the 2 blocks.
There's
The 2 blocks, the city ought to pay for it, and then we get paid back over time.
And I agree to the extent if we get it there, if it's not this developer, it's going to be someone else if it's
So-
already there.
well,
There's the puppy.
Found the dog.
but here, the problem I
That's
got
why
with
he
the
gets
2
paid
block
the
question
big
is
bucks.
it's not 2 blocks away here.
No, he's using that for.
It's
It's
just an
an
example.
Example.
So
Well-
like for the apartments,
What-
they were 800 feet away.
What,
But they were still willing to
Well,
extend
and-
it.
But the
Mr.
town is
Mr.
subject
Vice
to.
Mayor and council, this is in your code in section 51.061. This is it's called a line charge.
Right.
And so the council has the authority in the town code to implement a line charge if you go in first. So it's been there for a while, it's been there since 2004. It's, the way that you can recapture that profit, you have to go first. But obviously the preference is you go in conjunction with the developer, and so you find a way to work together to not have to impose the line charge later on. But, in the end, the developer has that responsibility.
But then
That's
they're
what
paying,
I was gonna suggest.
you're paying
is-
later at a cost that was cheaper, because you already did it, than if they had to do it 2 years from now. It's already done.
That's what I was gonna suggest, is maybe this developer person, we could talk to them and be willing to, I don't know, we'll swing a deal with them where so the line would get in no matter what, and then they would, I don't know what the portions would be, but work together to get it done so you could get it to Roadrunner, and then they would have the benefit because it would already be in there. You guys are both smirking at me.
Well, that's the way the code reads. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just saying to get
Other
it
than
done.
if He's they- saying
to get it done.
Sooner.
Yeah, the only
That's
choice
operating
is that
incentive.
this is a special zoning, so council does have the authority to, what
Put
is
a
it, the
stipulation.
give and
There's
take of the,
flexibility there,
A little
so,
stipulation of some kind.
I understand that it's mandatory, but I just meant to make sure that it gets done quicker. And then we can get line to the sewer line to the Roadrunner.
So Josh, through PAD, is this a stipulation that could be written?
you could
Put
look
a
at
time
stipulating,
frame on it.
but the problem here is the developer's funding is related to the zoning itself. So I'm not sure he would have the funding available right now to say, yeah, I can put that in.
Okay.
I might add, when we put the sewer line out to Molly Ray, and then that Mountain View apartment or
Yeah.
trailer park, they wanted to come down one west and tie in their whole
Right.
place. And then we had another group of apartments, wanted to tie in,
Which they did.
which they did, and they all paid for that.
Well, no, actually, we paid for the lines, and
We paid for
We
the
paid
line.
for the line
but they
to
And
Molly
one
Ray.
west. No, we
And
paid for the
one
other
west.
And
also.
the
Oh,
other
we did pay for
one.
the
We
other
came in
also.
under budget, so we had extra money to pay for that line over to Hawaii.
That's the 2 blocks.
Okay,
And they did all their interior work and connected. to
all
us.
right. So we're getting benefit out of that today.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you're gonna have a developer on the north side of Juniper, and you have a developer coming to talk to you on the south side of Juniper, I just see a win-win situation if we have to do it ourselves. If we're gonna have 2 developers to tie into our sewer that are gonna reimburse,
No,
they're not gonna reimburse.
not the north side. The north side's
Is
been
this a
flat out for
priority
10 years.
project that we have to get done the next couple of months? Because I'd rather find out if the zoning is passed and it comes to the council and we approve it, then talk about what we do.
So that's your decision. It was asked to be put on the agenda, so it's your decision how much of a priority it is.
But that was your recommendation, Josh, right?
Well,
Do we-
it's going to P and Z on Tuesday.
Tuesday, and
it's
then it
coming
should
to
come
you
on-
December 10th. I think
In
it's
December meeting, it'll come to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we always talked about extending sewer and water, and then let's wait and see if we have the opportunity to extend it there.
Can we forward this to the study session? We don't have, in December?
Yeah, we have one in December.
But
We
that'd
have
be
one in
after
December.
your,
That would be after the zoning is
Right.
approved or not approved
correct.
by the
Do
council. Then we'd know that the zoning has been approved.
And then look for further direction then.
Yeah.
You'll know the level of seriousness of the developer too after you meet. Have you met him in person yet? And get a
Yes.
feel
Oh,
for
yeah,
their-
we've
their
been meeting with
serious-
him since the first month I
Summer.
started.
And we'll probably see the developer
I'll
in
say though,
December
it's hard to tell
at our meeting.
sometimes, you know.
But we meet with a lot of developers,
Mhm.
so.
It's hard to know.
Lonnie, item 7.
What's his name?
Well done.
That's not
Paul
mine.
has land.
I
Yes.
think we are.
So I'll come back in December on this. We'll schedule it to come back in December and see how things go.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
9-9.
Also,
I'm so confused.
Me?
Does anybody remember Apache
Back in
Junction?
retirement.
The last one I went to was in Apache
2000.
Junction, and the entire thing, all
That's
night,
how
all
I
they talked
feel
about was
Chino Valley is right
licenses.
now. We're in that ship.
After
We're
2 hours of that, I get up, I'm like, oh, I want a sign, they say,
Where it's like, it was all retirement
That one was way easier.
and trailer parks and ag, and then they made a shift.
There you go, girl.
How does the shift happen?
Oh, really?
You know what I'm talking about?
Why do you know that?
Josh, that's more development, so.
Is this in the box?
You have to go visit.
It reminds me of All right, anybody that doesn't want their sprouts, let me know. They're good forever.
Take the box.
This is